Hi, I'm Greg Uland with Reynolds of Reynolds, and this is Connected live at the NADA show in Las Vegas. Thanks for hopping on. I'm so excited for this conversation. I get to sit down with the legendary Cliff Banks, founder of the Banks Report and AUTOVATE. Cliff, thanks so much for taking time to talk.
Thank you, Greg. It's great being here. Again, I think we've done this a few times now.
Yeah.
So it's become an NADA tradition for me. So.
Right. Well, last year I learned, I think we both learned, not to do it at 8 a.m. on Saturday morning.
Yes.
So this is much better. We're in the afternoon, feeling good.
And we're sitting down, not standing. We're good. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, Cliff, you always have, I don't know, you seem to get a lot of perspectives, and you always have a unique perspective on everything going on. So just wanted to get into a few of the things that kind of where you see us as an industry, what you're hearing out there. And maybe we could start with a couple of kind of news topics to lead us in. So the most recent one, yesterday, Fisker announced that they're starting to partner with dealerships to sell their cars, right? And they're looking for more partners and more partners.
Right.
Curious on your thoughts on that, the impact that it has, why they're going this direction. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, I don't think those of us in the retail space that pay attention to these things are surprised at all. It's just a long line of manufacturers who have determined that the dealers are the ones that are going to have to help them sell the cars.
Right.
We saw VinFast last fall make that decision.
Yep.
So they are signing up dealers. What I'm hearing from the Fisker folks, the response from dealers has been overwhelming. They're probably overwhelmed. I mean, so they're not going to have any shortage of finding dealers wanting to sell those vehicles. We see in Europe and in Japan, BYD, the Chinese automaker who is taking over the world, I guess if you're an EV player, they are going the dealer route. In Japan, I think they're looking to add significant number of dealership partners, and they're doing the same in the UK and the rest of Europe. We've also seen Mercedes looking to offload one of their retail, one of their biggest in Germany. So I think, when you look, when you're outside of it and looking at the retail space, it looks easy. Oh, we can do that better.
Right.
Well, there's so many different dynamics that are unique to automotive that it really does make it hard. So I think we're going to see, it wouldn't surprise me to see more of that over time. And but again, it's the whole space is up for grabs, and whether they can survive with dealers or without is the question. I mean, they have to get to some measure of scale on the sales.
Yeah,
so
you got to sell cars.
Yeah. Plus they're offloading some of that risk.
Yeah.
And those costs associated with retailing those cars.
Sure. So what do you think the relationship's going to look like? So you look at a company, and in today's world, it's a lot different than it was, even just 20 years ago.
Okay.
Where you have a manufacturer, right? They're building the car. They're selling the car via a website.
Right.
So it's not like there's no retail establishment, right? It's not like there's something that is available for a consumer to go to today. So you have this relationship where man, that those announcements sure get to you, don't they? It's tough to focus on the conversation.
Yes.
But no, that's all right.
Okay.
We're live. What are you gonna do?
That's it works. Yeah.
So anyhow, the manufacturer is selling the car online, right? They're selling it direct to consumer, and now they're going to franchise out, and they're going to have dealers. So when you think about that, how does that relationship work? It's not like we're going from a dealer body to an opportunity to sell direct to the consumer. We're going from a company that's used to direct to consumer and now franchising. So how do you see that relationship working?
Oh, it's going to be challenging. I think Polestar went that route.
Yep.
And again, now we're seeing Polestar. The announcement this week that Volvo is relinquishing its stake in Polestar and giving it basically to Geely, the Chinese owner. And that might just be more of a spreadsheet accounting system, clean up Volvo's books a little bit. But that was, they went that route, going to dealers. I don't know. We'll see how successful it's going to be.
Right.
we got a lot of smart folks on the retail level who
Yeah.
can sell anything, and I think they can help guide these companies, manufacturers, in a way that maybe that we haven't seen before.
Yeah.
We'll see though. But again, I think the survival of these companies long term is up in the air anyway. So.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm fascinated to see what shakes out and where we go, because I can't visualize quite yet what that relationship ultimately ends up looking like, right? From the manufacturer and the dealer, they're both used to certain things. They both operate in really different ways right now. Now you have this partnership. So what does it look like?
Yeah, it's going to evolve.
Right.
But, they clearly aren't selling, manufacturers clearly aren't selling cars at the levels they thought they were going to be.
Right.
And I don't know that the consumer I don't know that we live yet in a world where the consumer is willing at a mass level buying or completing the entire transaction online.
Sure.
We see the data, and you guys love it with Google. I mean, you guys are you trying to provide the customer with a multiple ways of getting that transaction done. But the data still shows. I think Cox had the data 7%. DAS Technology, their data showed 2.4% of all transactions in the fourth quarter were digital, completely digital. So there's going to have to be, to your point, that relationship is going to evolve, but they're going to have to work together.
Right.
And I think the manufacturers are going to have to give quite a bit on that whole online play.
Well, yeah, there's a difference between retailing and it's just a difference, right? It's a different business at the end of the day. It really is.
Right.
So, no, it'll be interesting to see where it shakes out. Another one, Cliff, I wanted to get your read on, and you've probably talked to a lot of people about this one, but Vroom obviously closing doors on retail operations at least.
Surprised they lasted this long.
Yeah.
I'll say this. I don't think if it hadn't been for COVID, I doubt the Vroom would have lasted, or Shift Technologies, which closed down in October or September last year.
October, yeah.
I don't think either of those companies would have survived much longer past 2020.
Yeah.
But COVID gave them a new lease on life. Everyone bought into the whole digital hype, and investors bought into it. SPAC shifted to SPAC. Vroom, I think, did the traditional IPO, but it went once those waters receded a little bit, then it became clear.
Yeah.
And they were just trying to hang on. Another element of that is, if you're dealing, especially if it's a public company, you can tell. You can see their handwriting. They talked in August. I mean, they were talking about wanting to raise money, but their whole relationship with Ally Bank, on the floor plan lending side, was all contingent upon them raising money. And I think the investors saw that it was never going to be a sustainable long-term play. So, so those guys are gone.
So why can't these companies get it right? I mean, at the end of the day, right, you're selling a used car. Used cars can be extremely profitable. It's a great segment of the industry, right? It's a great business to be in, really. Well, why can't they get it right?
Well, all right. So let's go back. I mean, even before them, BP was another one that, and I was at a conference with an executive from BP, young guy, who I asked a question, do you see you guys getting involved or developing some dealer relationships? And he smirked and basically answered scornfully, the dealers are gone. We're gonna take over, and they don't know, they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
6 months later, BP was out of business.
Right.
So I think my point in telling this story is I think there's a little bit of hubris, a little bit of cockiness, and lack of understanding of how the retail space really is.
Right.
I mean, you got the whole element of titling and registration, and there's so many regulations, and every state is different. Right. And when you're trying to do it just online, they bought the Texas Auto Direct group and ran it into the ground.
Yeah.
So you have, but it's, and again, I mean, we could say, well, that's just because it's an online place, so it's not going to work. Well, I don't know. I mean, Carvana to this point has survived. Now, creative financial, creative engineering, creative financial, structuring there, and we'll see where that ultimately ends up. but we're in a space too. We had was it off lease only in Florida?
Yeah. Yep.
5 stores.
Right.
Yeah. They closed down. You had a couple of others. Some of that was investor related, I think. So we're going to see some of this stuff.
Yeah.
But again, you had investors that came in that thought they knew better and knew how to run the business.
Well, I wonder too, how much of it is this, especially once you start to go public or you're looking to go public, like how much of it is scaling too fast? When you're looking at a national level, you look at these massive dealer groups that we have in the country today, and certainly franchise dealers, but even used car dealers, right? Drive Time, you mentioned Carvana, but Drive Time is the godfather of Carvana.
But they've been around a long time.
Right.
Yeah.
But it takes a long time to build that business. And you have to have a local business and then a regional business. And you can't just have one warehouse car sitting somewhere in, St. Louis, right?
Impatient investors.
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of it. Everyone wants to get that unicorn.
Yeah.
And
it's a hard business and it takes decades to build.
It's a very hard business. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. But it does continue to baffle me, because everybody sees it and they say, man, we can do that. And this is a great business. But then they last 2 years or 3 years and they're gone. It's just why can't somebody get this right? And it blows my mind. But it goes back to, our franchise dealer system that we have in place today. And even, you can look at used car dealers too. But
legitimate, long time. Yeah, independent used car dealers. Yeah.
Right, they're building a local business. At the end of the day, they're building a local business and then growing from there. And I think that's what's missing. It seems like, at least when you look at all the pieces to the puzzle, at its basic level, its core level, being in a community and starting there, it seems to be the answer for especially for used cars.
Right. Well, I think you look at CarMax, as an example, and I think they did it right. Obviously, they've done it right. They've provided great return to their investors and have become a mainstay in the entire the automotive retail space. And so that would be the model I would follow.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you see for the used car market here coming up next year, next 2 years? Because there's a lot of stuff out there, right? You're going to have a lot of off-lease vehicles. You're going to have, EVs is a whole different conversation.
I think the off-lease vehicles, we still have a little bit of a ways, a couple of years before we start seeing, because leasing completely fell off the map. I mean, it was under 20%, even maybe just above 15, 16%. And I didn't get to hear all of the data yesterday at the conferences. I think it's going to continue to be somewhat volatile. I think what I've said this actually last 2 years is you just have to understand what's going on in your local market, going on with your franchises, and act accordingly.
Well, limit risk, right?
You certainly want to do that. You certainly want to
get rid of anytime there's a volatile market in used, get rid of that car as quick as you can, because you know what you have in it, and get it sold, because it's, it could go up, could go down, and you want to limit that risk,
right? So prices to start. I mean, I think everyone's talking about normalization, but we're still higher than where we were.
Oh, sure.
So, at what time do we get back down to those pre-pandemic levels? I
think it's you're going to be hard pressed to get to where we were.
Right.
Once you go high, it's really tough to stomach coming way back down.
Is,
right.
Yes.
It just it's difficult to do. Yeah. I mean, we'll come back down, but I don't think we're going to find that 2019 level or whatever. It doesn't make sense. All right. So, Cliff, one of the other things that you always seem to have great perspectives on, and you have different ideas than pretty much anybody else around the connected car.
Yes.
So what's new in that world? What are you seeing? What are you excited about? It's a world that seems to have endless opportunity.
But it's darn near impossible. We've talked about this for the last few years. My vision of where I thought the connected vehicle now, and I think the term now is software-defined vehicle, SDV, which I think we need to put to bed. But I don't know the manufacturers are going to be able to pull off some of the thoughts that I had in terms of tying everything together.
Yeah.
We're not. Tesla is one, but that's a different. They've been able to do it from the ground up. I think with Ford, General Motors, still any of them, it's just very hard. There's going to be some disappointed investors who were banking on this $20 to $30 billion in revenue, additional revenue annually that the automakers have been talking about. There's no.
Yeah.
Just it's so hard.
It is.
It is so hard. I mean, you take Rivian the other day. I mean, Rivian, they did an over-the-air update and bricked their infotainment center.
Right.
I think these things are challenging. You're not. It's not in their skill set really. And you have multiple suppliers, so you're relying on them to produce things that can be connected. I think the vehicle infrastructure still isn't set up yet to be able to manage all of those functions. You have the cybersecurity issues. But yeah, I mean, I would love to be able to get into my car and have it talk to me and tell me what's going on with the vehicle. Now, what is fascinating, and we're starting to see, we've seen Mercedes, I think, and there's other manufacturers that are starting to play with AI, natural language models, and tying it into their voice activate or voice systems. Now that is, if they can get that to work without too many bugs,
right?
But you get in the car and ask where the traffic is, and it verbally tells you, but maybe it doesn't give you the right answer,
right?
But if the manufacturer's ever able to tie that AI to the actual mechanical systems in the vehicle to tell you when you need an oil change, or it could be an EV, or you need new tires or new brakes, you could, I think, that could be a game changer.
Right?
Is the customer going to pay for it? How much cost? How much does that develop?
That's true. Yeah. What's the business model like? But at the end of I think it's a cool concept. At least you mentioned brakes, right?
Yes.
So, all right, brakes are getting low. Car comes on, says, "Hey, Cliff, you need to change your brake pads within the next month."
Yeah.
Looking at your calendar, you have an opening on Wednesday afternoon. Your dealership has an opening on Wednesday afternoon. You'll go ahead and schedule the appointment.
Yeah.
So that concept is it's so logical, and I love it.
Yes.
But how do you build it in? Is your point. And I think part of the struggle is the transfer, and you just mentioned it, right? Tying it all together, but that transfer of data, because there are different parties that are going to have to play in that ecosystem.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
You have the dealership, you have the dealership software they're using, you have the OEM, the manufacturer of the vehicle. In some cases you have the company that's running the software for the infotainment system.
Right.
It's
and we've seen the trouble that General Motors has had with their Ultium platform. And they still say they're going to be building 200,000 to 300,000 vehicles on that platform. We'll see. I mean, they've had a lot of struggles last year getting that off the ground, and I would imagine they will continue to do so. And that's not to criticize General Motors or any of these other automakers. I mean, they're trying to rebuild the plane while they're still flying in the air, and they have to. And so, there's going to be a lot of hiccups. Tesla had. How many years did it take Tesla? I mean, and how many bailouts do they need? So, I mean, creative bailouts, but GM and Ford, they don't get that. They don't get that same level of patience.
Yeah, they don't have the runway.
They don't.
There's no way.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. So I wanted to talk to you about at least one more thing here. So EVs.
Yes.
It's a big topic. There's a lot of different angles to look at it. But as more and more manufacturers come out with more and more models, I'm starting to get the sense. So I want your feedback on it. Starting to get the sense that it's feeling less and less like an EV is a different category of vehicle, and more like it's another powertrain. Right? It's you have a 4-wheel drive vehicle, you have a 2-wheel drive vehicle, sure, but it's still a vehicle, right?
Right.
It's a feature more than it is
Stick
a new
shift
category
versus an automatic. Kind of.
And maybe I'm way ahead of myself on this, but as more and more models start coming out, it starts to feel less and less special. I guess I don't know what your take is on that, because Tesla was really the one that nailed the category, right?
Yes.
They said, hey, electric vehicles different. They had a different purpose, a different vision of the world, and they push things forward. And now we're starting to get to the point where, again, it just feels a little diluted. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Well, yeah, I don't know that.
I haven't asked you too many questions where it seemed like you didn't have an answer. I'm proud of that one.
Well, this one, I think the answer is we still don't have clarity on where this whole EV play is going to end up. And, online, and I mean, it's people are either pro or against. And all I know is that the dealers I talk to are saying they can't sell EVs.
Right.
I mean, Mercedes dealer in California telling me, yeah, we're selling them, but we're selling them for no margin. Ford just announced they were going to sell 100,000 Mach-E's and Lightnings to environmental fleet for their company. Well, there's only one reason why they're doing that. They can't sell them to customers,
right?
So they're looking for other ways. I don't know. I mean, again, I don't think we have any clarity on where the true consumer demand is.
Sure.
We don't know what happens with the election this year
and
some of those mandates. Look, there's a real challenge at the state level with mandates. I think there's like 17 states where, over the next few years, you're going to have to be at near zero.
Which is
emissions,
interesting.
If you're a dealer in one of those states, how are you going to?
I don't know.
What cars are you going to sell? I mean, and if the customer doesn't want the vehicle,
right,
that your manufacturer is forced to put on your lot, what are you going to do? So I think, I think there's still a long legislative and legal and political game at play here. So when I say we just don't, to me, I was having lunch with a couple of dealers today, and my advice is drag your feet as long as you can on the EV stuff, because they said the vehicles that are sitting the longest on their lots are EVs. And there's a lot of media pressure, a lot of media chatter about how dealers are the ones who are at fault because they don't know how to sell. They don't want to sell a car. Listen, that vehicle is sitting on the lot. It's costing them money.
Right.
They want to get rid of that vehicle.
Yeah.
Problem is they're not making any money on them.
Yeah.
Where are you going to put your attention as a dealer? So we've got a long ways to go. You have the Chinese question too. They're here. Their automakers are here having conversations with the appropriate parties, with dealers, with just how do we get our product in here?
Yeah.
And how do we do it at a cost-effective, way that where they're not being pounded by our government tariffs or taxes or whatever. But again, you have a security issue.
Yep.
With Chinese vehicles here. So I'll tell you, to me, if I'm a dealer, just keep your head down, keep selling cars, and don't worry about all this other noise going on. And make sure you're doing business the right way. And don't worry about changing the industry. Don't worry about removing customer friction. Do it for your stores. Let everyone else fight their battles.
Yeah. And when you look back over time, I mean, that's been the story forever. There's always been issues. There's always been problems. There's always been challenges. There's always been newcomers.
Exactly. Yep.
And you keep doing things well. You keep doing them right.
Right.
And you know what? You're going to come out on top.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
That's good.
So.
All right, Cliff, what else is on your mind? Anything else that's kind of in the line of sight for you that you have your eyes on either this weekend or moving forward into 2024?
Well, I think, I think we're watching closely to see when these valuations at the dealership level on these buy-sells, how long do they last? Certainly the Florida market is as hot as ever. I mean, every week you wake up, there's another deal going down. And some of these, I'll say it's, we know about them before they happen and know the price. There's some crazy money out there, and some people willing to drop some money. How about, everyone's saying, the brokers and some of the accountants are saying we're starting to see that come down a little bit, but we're still so high, and there's still a lot of cash. Group 1 this week announced, in their earnings call, they're armed and ready. They've got cash and they're ready to go and start buying. And I would imagine that the others are, still, in that same boat. So
yeah, that'll be. It's interesting. For
yes.
sure.
Yeah, it keeps your guys' life interesting. I'm sure.
Sure does. Sure does. All right. Well, Cliff, thanks. Thanks so much for joining. It's a pleasure as
Great.
always.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Yeah, appreciate it. Have a great show this week.
Yep. You guys too.